Have you ever found yourself sitting next to your partner, sharing the same space, but feeling like your worlds apart? It's not that anything dramatic has happened, no big fights, no betrayals, just a slow drift, like two boats once tied together, now gently floating in different directions. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In the middle of your life, when career, responsibilities, and routine take up so much space, it's easy for connection to slip through the cracks. But here's the thing. Just because the honeymoon phase is past doesn't mean the excitement, passion, or closeness has to go with it. In fact, this chapter, the one you're living right now, has the potential to be deeper, more rewarding, and more intimate than anything you've experienced before. You've built a life together. That foundation is solid. Now it's time to light a new kind of spark on top of it. So today, let's have a real conversation about how to keep the spark alive in a long-term marriage. We're not talking about quick fixes or dramatic gestures, but meaningful shifts that bring back that sense of closeness and aliveness. Because if you're in your prime, you deserve a relationship that feels just as vibrant. Let's begin with something simple but powerful: presence. Not just being in the same room, but being truly there. One of the most common traps in long-term relationships is assuming that because you've been together so long, you already know everything about each other. But the truth is, your partner is constantly evolving. You are too. When you choose to look at them with fresh eyes, to listen without assumptions, to ask questions out of genuine curiosity rather than obligation, something shifts. The energy between you changes. It's no longer just about going through the motions, it becomes about discovery again. Start small. Next time you're both having dinner or even watching TV, put your phone down and really look at them. Ask them how their day was, but ask like you've never asked before. And when they answer, lean in. Not just with your ears, but with your heart. You'd be amazed how just a little bit of true presence can rekindle that emotional spark. Now, while presence brings emotional closeness, physical connection needs intentional effort too. But not necessarily in the way you might think. It's not just about sex, though that's important. It's about touch. Non-sexual, affectionate, everyday touch. A hand on the lower back as you walk past in the kitchen. A squeeze of the shoulder before bed. Holding hands on a walk, even if it's just around the block. These small gestures remind the body that intimacy is still alive. They tell your partner, I see you. I still want to feel close to you. And often, that kind of touch becomes the bridge to deeper intimacy, both physical and emotional. It's hard to feel disconnected when you're consistently reaching out in small, meaningful ways. And don't underestimate the power of laughter. Life in the middle years can get heavy. Between bills, health concerns, work stress, and maybe even parenting grown children, things can feel serious more often than not. But laughter is like a pressure valve. It releases stress and brings you back to the playful, spontaneous energy that probably brought you together in the first place. That doesn't mean you have to be a comedian or crack jokes all day. It just means letting yourself be light with each other again. Watch a silly movie together. Make fun of a cooking disaster instead of getting frustrated. Reminisce about something ridiculous that happened early in your relationship. Laughter creates connection. It breaks down walls. And in those moments, when you're both genuinely smiling, you're reminded that being together is still fun. Now that we've talked about presence, affectionate touch, and the magic of shared laughter, let's explore something just as essential, something that takes the connection even deeper. If you really want to breathe life back into your marriage, there's something you may not have thought about in a long time: surprise. Not the grand, expensive kind, but the subtle, meaningful kind that disrupts the routine just enough to stir up excitement. When everything becomes predictable, passion tends to go quiet. But when you shake things up with the unexpected, a handwritten note left on the bathroom mirror, a favorite snack picked up on your way home, a spontaneous detour to watch the sunset, those little surprises remind both of you that love is still alive and it's still choosing to show up. There's a certain thrill in being surprised, especially by someone you've known for years. It creates a ripple of anticipation. It tells your partner, I'm thinking of you. You matter enough to go out of my way. And it doesn't take a major event. Just break the rhythm occasionally. Routine has its place. It brings structure, comfort, reliability. But romance lives in the moments that break free from the script. And while surprises bring freshness, shared goals bring depth. One of the most powerful ways to stay connected is to look towards something together. When couples lose their sense of shared direction, the relationship can start to feel more like coexisting than building something meaningful. But when you have a goal, something that matters to both of you, it gives your connection new energy. Maybe it's planning a trip you've always dreamed of, starting a little side project together, or even just taking on a home renovation you both can get behind. It doesn't have to be monumental. What matters is that it's mutual. A shared goal becomes a reason to collaborate, to check in, to dream together again. And in doing that, you're not just fixing something or planning logistics. You're stepping into a partnership that feels alive. You become teammates, not just housemates. And that sense of us against the world, even in small ways, can reignite the bond that may have gone a bit quiet under the weight of everyday life. Another overlooked key to lasting connection is admiration. Genuine, spoken, present-day admiration. Not the kind you keep in your head or assume they already know, but the kind you actually say out loud. Think about how often people in long-term relationships forget to tell each other what they still love, still respect, still find amazing. It's not because they don't feel it, it's because they assume it's been said already. But admiration doesn't expire. It needs to be renewed. Not because your partner is needy, but because we all want to feel seen. Tell them you're proud of how they handled a tough situation. Compliment something they did well. Point out something they probably didn't even notice, like how calm they stayed during chaos or how thoughtful they were with someone else. Those words, when spoken with sincerity, land deep. They don't just make your partner feel good, they reawaken your own feelings of love and appreciation. As your relationship matures, the dynamics shift. You're no longer riding the rush of new love, but that's not a loss, it's a different kind of gain. Now, love has roots. And from those roots, you can grow something truly extraordinary. But that growth still needs light and water, those daily choices that say, I still choose you. We've covered the impact of surprise, shared goals, and the power of genuine admiration. There's still more to uncover, more ways to nurture what you've built and bring new life to what's been resting quietly beneath the surface. One of the most powerful things you could do to reignite the passion in your marriage is to revisit the fun of just being with each other without any expectations. Sometimes we get so caught up in the serious side of our relationships, the deep conversations, the problem solving, the daily responsibilities, that we forget to simply enjoy one another's company. The carefree moments where there's nothing to fix, nothing to do but laugh, be silly, and just share space together can be incredibly refreshing. Think about the times when you first met. You didn't need an agenda to enjoy each other's company. You didn't need to have a long conversation about the future or dissect every little thing. You were just two people being together. Try to bring that back into your daily routine. Whether it's a shared hobby, a hobby you start together, or simply going for a walk without any goal in mind, make space for those lighthearted, effortless moments. Not everything has to be meaningful or serious to be important. Sometimes, it's the little, spontaneous, silly moments that create the most lasting memories. Another way to keep things alive is to be mindful of your self-care, not just for you, but for the relationship. When you're taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally, you become more present and engaged in your marriage. It's hard to give your best when you're running on empty. So make sure that you're nurturing yourself too. Exercise, eat well, get enough rest, and take time to recharge. When both partners are taking care of their own well-being, they show up stronger for one another. This doesn't just benefit you individually, it strengthens the bond between you. As time passes, intimacy might change, but that doesn't mean it's over. In fact, this phase of your marriage can offer the opportunity for a different kind of intimacy, one that's less about physical attraction and more about emotional depth. When was the last time you shared something vulnerable with your partner, something not about work, not about family, but something personal, something that scared you or excited you? Vulnerability creates trust, and trust builds intimacy in ways that physical touch can't always replicate. And lastly, never underestimate the power of gratitude. In the day-to-day, we can sometimes take our partners for granted. But expressing gratitude, saying thank you for the small things, acknowledging the effort they put into making your life better, can do wonders. It's easy to forget how important these small acts of kindness are. Taking the time to thank your partner for the things they do, or simply for being there, can reignite the feeling of being valued and loved. The truth is, love in long-term relationships evolves, and that evolution doesn't have to mean the end of the spark. It just means finding new ways to connect. The excitement, The romance, the passion, they don't disappear. They change. And if you're willing to do the work to keep them alive, your relationship can become even more rewarding and fulfilling as time goes on. Remember, small adjustments in the way you approach your relationship can make all the difference. Love, connection, and intimacy are ongoing processes. There's no finish line. So make sure you're both putting in the effort to keep the spark alive. It's worth it. Here's to making your connection stronger, more vibrant, and even more meaningful than ever. If any of these ideas resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your experience with keeping the spark alive in your marriage. Also, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more insights and tips on building a fulfilling life. Here's to making every moment count, no matter where you are in your journey.